Alright guys, let's talk about Vegeta, right? So, first we're gonna go over his buttons, right? So, starting with his grounded buttons. His 5L is 6 frames and it's -2, and he can do it twice. And for those who don't know, -2 is kind of a magic number where typically you can backdash after it, even against 6 framers. So it's good so you can like leave pressure whenever you want and stuff. It's really, really good. -2 is also like a lot safer than normal. Like usually it's like -3 or 4, so that's really, really nice. Second hit of his auto combo is nothing special, but it is -5, which is really, really nice. Third hit though is actually an anti-air. As you can see, it has anti-air property, so it's pretty niche, but you can actually get some pretty decent situations and scrambles by just mashing it sometimes, but I wouldn't recommend it that much. But it does put him in the air. He has landing recovery, but he can do things like that. He can make you RPS between these two, which is something we're going to go over a little later, but yeah. His 5M is 9 frames and -5 too, which is nice. Fast, you can use it to challenge situations because 9 frame buttons are like 9 frames is another magic number, right? For like at least for speed of normal, so that's nice. -5. And his 2M is also -5. Like every button he presses is safe, right? Standard 2M, really nice, -5. His key blasts are -3 point blank, and he actually shoots 8 of them, I'm pretty sure. And he shoots them at a faster velocity than every other character. And the reason that's good is because if he ever gets into a key blast war with basically anyone else, he's always going to win. Because not only will he outspeed them, even if you shoot him late, he just shoots more. So he'll never lose in that situation. So this kind of is really, really good because I don't think any character can actually beat him in this realistically. So as long as they don't out-prioritize his key blast. So that's really, really good. But yeah. He has a 1S, 2S, and 3S, which are kind of like setup key blasts, but the cool thing about these is they actually hit at an angle a lot of characters can't challenge. So again, if I do them in the air, at least I don't get hit. He can kind of bypass his zoning structures because of this, and they're +20 on block, which is also really, really good. And he can shoot them at 3 different angles, on the ground or in the air. He can use them in a block string as well. And they're also -3, so he can just use them as 2 key blasts. So he can do things like, which is good. So like in the corner, he could be like, reset right here, reset right here. It's really, really good. So his 2H is pretty standard, nothing too special about it. It's actually like a little on the weaker side because it doesn't go that far compared to some of the other buttons in this game, but that's fine, right? It doesn't have to be OD. His 5H is pretty standard too. -8, which is cool because that means he's safe to 9 frame DPs. So let's say it gets Blue Gogeta or Team Gohan. If he does 5H, he can actually block in time, which is nice. But outside of that, there's nothing too special about it. And to go over his air normals, his jail is actually really good. It actually fuzzies everyone if they're in block stun, even small characters like Team Gohan, which is nice for his mix-ups. It's also really good at catching Super Dash, because it hits pretty downwards. So if you're cracked, you can actually get that fairly consistently, which is nice. His JM, pretty standard, 9 frame JM. It's nice for IDing in because of the speed of it. And if you get the right spacing, his crossbow can be really fast at times, so it's cool. The JH is pretty standard, nothing too special about this. But like his 2 most notable air normals for sure is his J2H, which this button is crazy. He can kind of like use it to stall himself in the air, as you can see. Like he can do it a lot. He recovers very fast too, and this thing has a crazy hitbox on it. Like if they are jumping, it's like a vortex. Like they can just get like sucked into the move. Like so, like approaching a neutral like that is actually not a bad idea. Or just using it to like delay your landing and stuff. Like kind of mix them up, right? By far his best button though is his JS. It's definitely like the star of the show. It's the most aggressive angle for Key Blast in the game. As you can see, he shoots it downwards. And when he's falling, these are extremely plus. It can be all the way up to +20, right? So like, you see a lot of base shoot players do this. And it's really good because it covers the ground and stuff. It's very good at sniping assists as well. So let's say somebody approaches like this. Typically, this will be good for protecting assists. As you can see, they'll block the Key Blast and not get hit by the assist. But because the angle on his JS... make it a little easier time for me. Because the angle on his JS, he actually can kind of hit the assist behind them sometimes when he's shooting. And he can avoid them like that. So, I'm trying to get it so you guys can see. There it is. because of the angle, it's very hard to protect your assist from him. So he's actually like, not only is he making like really strong situations because he's really covering the ground, making it very hard to approach on the ground, he's also like hitting your assist behind you, which is like really annoying to deal with in neutral. And for a point character, being able to deal with assists like this is really, really important. And the more we're going to look at his moves, you're going to see that too. So like, those are kind of his specials, or sorry, not his specials, his buttons. You can also like ID4 with it too and stuff. It can get really annoying, shoot it twice. There's a lot of different ways you can use this one. Combine it with 3S to like make it very annoying to approach neutral and stuff, right? Be careful though, because you could definitely get super dashed. So, let's talk about his specials though. He has a rocket kick, which is cool because this move is kind of like a mid-range poke option. It's pretty fast and it puts him in the air. And he has air action, so he's, even if you block this, unlike other characters like Team Gohan, where if you block this and they don't have an assist, it's kind of like they lose their turn, so to speak. He doesn't have to deal with that, so he can kind of get away with using it without assists. Because if they get hit, you can hit confirm it. If they block it, it's fine, because you go back to neutral. So it's cool. His medium rock kick, though, is a full screen lariat. You can use it on the ground and in the air. And the unique thing about this one is it actually goes through the point character and pierces. So, to show this example again, here's another move that will actually burn through the point character, hit assist behind them, as you can see. If I use his light, you'll see it stops on the point character, which is how most lariats work, but his M actually goes through them. Oops. And actually hit the assist behind them, which is really, really good for kind of just like being ignorant on the ground like that, right? Like he could just take control of a situation really fast, like doing things like that. So this is really, really good. The X version tracks behind you. It cannot be 2H, but if you do it in the air, it can be 2H, so be careful of that. Do not whiff this thing though, because if you whiff it, he has a lot of recovery. So be a little careful for that. But it's good for like getting behind neutral structure. So for like few characters who actually can zone back, he can just kind of like teleport at them and be like, fuck neutral, right? It's kind of, it's really stupid. So like, those are his rocket kicks. His knee drop series is interesting because it is a teleporting overhead that works everywhere. Light causes a knockdown, but you can't combo after it outside of super. Right? Medium is slower, but it causes a pretty big ground bounce, so you can actually combo after it using his grab or like an assist. Good stuff, right? I wouldn't recommend using medium too much though in neutral. It's usually light or EX. EX kind of just combines both of them. The same speed as light, but it also causes the ground bounce. So you can get a combo after, which is really, really nice. The interesting thing I want to mention about his knee drop series is actually you can use it to checkmate Ki Blast, because this thing actually tracks to vanish as it gets hit by vanish. That like almost never happens. 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10 times that will happen, and it doesn't really matter where they vanish. You see how he'll find them. So this is actually really cool. Yeah, I actually never seen Vanish beat this thing, to be honest. That was very rare. Like, he's gonna find you. So this is really, really cool. The other interesting thing about this move is it can actually cross you up, which is hilarious. Not a lot of people know it does this, but if somebody's dash blocking at you in neutral, depending on the timing, I dash block. That hit cross up. You saw his character turn around for a second? Let's look at it one more time. You see Team Gohan? Look what direction he's facing. That's a cross up. It is like an unblockable in neutral. It gets really, really cheap. So that's another cool thing about it. You just get random hits sometimes. So his other move is disc, which is good. He can angle it 3 different directions. Like down, regular, which is that one, and up. The regular one is his assist. The down one slightly doesn't hit full screen. But again, the unique thing about his disc is, again, because they are destructive disc, they pierce. So that means it will burn through the point character and hit the assist behind you. So, I don't know if you've noticed, but yes, 1 move that hits assist, 2, 3, and 4. If you didn't get it by now, he is meant to kill your assist while also setting up his own neutral structures. This is why some people used to view him as the ultimate point character, because effectively point wars are pretty assist dependent. So for a character to kind of be designed to like deal with them with like almost everything he does, it's kind of insane. So it's cool. Another cool thing they actually gave him is actually he can actually combo this now with EX knee drop, which is cool. If you time it right, it's kind of difficult, but it is a thing. see if I can get it one time. I think I have to do it slower or faster. I don't know. Let's see. Maybe slower. That's weird. That usually combo. Let me try down disc. Maybe he's too small. But this usually does combo, actually. You have to be kind of far away, but it does work usually. But yeah. He can also use EX knee drop to kind of combo a lot of things because it actually gets faster if they're in hit stun. So it's usually 24 frames, and you can kind of see the speed. But if you're in the middle of a combo, right? See, it's 21 frames now. 20 frames. It gets very fast. So typically, like, to hit confirm beams, it's kind of annoying. You'd have to super dash or like maybe do a vanish combo, and he can actually just use this for easy confirm. So if you don't feel like running up, or you didn't react in time to run up, let's say they get hit randomly, you can always just do EX knee drop to just get it confirmed every time, which is nice. So there's another really cool thing about him. That kind of really just helps his zoning qualities, right? So I think this is his last special move. Don't quote me. Yeah, his last special move is this OTG grab. Even though it is a 17 frame command grab, it does not work on crouching opponents. It only works on standing opponents or opponents that are in knockdown. So the cool thing about this is it basically is just a buff to his supers. He typically uses them either to extend combos, like this. And if he still has a smash, he can get a combo. Or he uses it at the end of his combos to get extra damage. So his super typically does around 780, I believe the number is. 780. Yes. But as you can see, if I use the OTG grab at the end of this combo, it will do 980. So that's like a huge damage buff. That's like a lot of extra damage. It's one of the hardest hitting supers in the game. Right? 980. So on top of that, it actually buffs his level 3 to do even more damage. His level 3 typically does around the 1700s, a little over 1700. But with the buff, it does 1900. So I actually think his super does 1720. Don't quote me on that. But with the buff, it does even more damage, and it actually changes the properties on his level 3, which is we're going to talk about a little later. But yeah, that hurts. For reference, that's like a little, like that's like 100 or a little over 100 less damage than base Goku's Spirit Bomb. So like, that's how much damage that's doing to you. It hurts a lot, right? So I want to talk about the supers a little bit. Typically, I don't talk about supers, but like, I feel like this deserved his own section because of how unique his supers are. So the interesting thing about his supers is actually that it causes a sliding knockdown, which is not normal. Most characters can't do this. And if I do something like this, you're going to notice that they are actually in knockdown state. That was a sliding knockdown. So he can actually get some pretty interesting situations because of this. So I'm going to show you one of my favorites. Depending on the assist synergy, if you have a super that ends relatively quickly, so let's say Kefla's level 1, Adult Gohan's level 1, or Majin 21's level 1, for a few examples. This also can work for Vegeta, is another example. You can actually cancel his super into their super, and they can get the knockdown. So this is like really, really good for like getting him out and getting other characters in. This is like really, really strong. This is pretty unique to him. There's only very few characters who can do this in the game, so I thought that'd be important to mention, right? But his combo 3 is pretty basic. Talk about his combos a little bit. His mid-screen routes are kind of lackluster. He kind of just does the basic sand BMB. That's usually a typical route would look like. I would recommend doing his 5H route mid-screen because you want to push him to the corner as fast as possible because that's when he gets really, really dangerous. In my opinion, he is the strongest character in the game once he has you cornered. Or at least one of the strongest. So his damage mid-screen is like okay, but in the corner he starts doing a lot more damage because of his infamous loops. So for an example of one of his BMBs, is the one I use. This does a little over 4,000 by himself, which is a lot for a solo character. His combos are a little execution heavy, as you can see I dropped it twice, but with practice you can probably manage them. Oh, that is, you're supposed to shoot 2 key blasts. But this is, in my opinion, one of the biggest selling points of the character because of how much damage he can do in the corner and his set play potential. There you go. Knockdown 2, 4.1, almost 4.2, so almost 42%, which is really, really nice. So usually in the corner you'll see a few different loops, but like you'll see probably this one most often. and you'll probably see this one, which is a bit outdated, but it still does a lot of damage because any character who can loop things in the corner typically does a lot of damage. The notorious Sonic Fox here. Really, really nice. So, outside of that, that's really the end of his combo theory. If you're really advanced, you can actually do his loops mid-screen. This is assist and synergy. It's like team-specific things. But he can actually have some pretty insane corner carry. Like, he can have full-screen corner carry if you can do these combos right. So as you can see, that's corner to corner, right? Even off like 2H confirms, he can do this as well. And again, even though he doesn't have his sliding knockdown, because you used it earlier, it's fine, because his super is a knockdown. So you can actually use it as a setup. So that's really, really cool, right? Another utility thing about his super. The next thing I kind of want to talk about a little bit is his assists. To be completely honest, I feel like his A assist is probably his only truly viable assist. In my opinion, it's one of the strongest assists in the game. It's just his destructo disc, the normal version. But it's good because there's a few special things about it. So just like him on point, this assist will actually pierce through the point character and hit your assist behind you. So it's very good for kind of, again, just calling it to demand space. As you can see, you can't protect your assist against it, which is like really, really good, especially in certain matchups. It has a really good angle. It's good for anti-airing. And it has a lot of hit stun, so it's pretty easy to confirm as well. You can see you can have like a really delayed confirm. You can definitely even wait and even hit a medium button. It has that much hit stun, like almost Vegeta A level, so it's very easy to combo from. And it's really good for mix-up because it's 30 frame block stun. His other assists, his B assist, again, I won't recommend using this too much unless you absolutely have to. This is his medium rocket kick, but like it just doesn't go as far, as you can see. But it does actually still have the same properties as the one on point, which is it will burn through the point character and hit the assist behind them, if I do it right. As you can see. Most layers don't do that, by the way. This is just something pretty unique to him. So, yeah, it's an okay assist. And his C assist is, again, nothing too special. It's just a third of his auto combo. I think it might hit in the air. I don't remember exactly. Yeah, it hits pretty far in the air, right? But outside of that, I wouldn't recommend using this too much. I don't recommend using C assist that much. And for C assist, it is on the lackluster side, I think. So you definitely use his A assist, for sure. Use his A assist. So with all that out the way, let's actually talk about the interesting stuff, right? So the two things that I think makes him very, very strong, and he is like some of the best, if not the best in the game at these categories, is like his neutral control, his mix-ups, and his set plays. Mix-up and set play are kind of together, but three things. So like to talk about his neutral theory a little bit, the idea of him is he's a character that is built to like kind of put a lot of pressure on you. Because of how his neutral works with his key blast and stuff, makes it like very hard to approach on the ground and stuff, right? With like this, lariats anytime he wants, and this to cover the sky. Like he makes it very hard to approach on the ground, but like the more important one is he's also sniping your assist while he's doing this with almost everything. Like this snipes your assist, as you can see. This snipes your assist. This will snipe your assist even through block. This will snipe your assist. Like, it's very difficult to actually get your assist out and fight against him. But at the same time, he's putting a lot of pressure on you because if you combine his falling key blast with rocket kick, this is a frame trap full screen. If the opponent attempts to hold up, this actually catches them. They can't move in this situation. So I'll show you an example. As you can see, it frame trapped his jump. So what this means is every time you notice they successfully block a falling key blast, it is a mind game. Because the way to get out of this is you can reflect him, right? Because there's a gap. You can reflect him, but he can bait it. And if he baits it, just to show you an example of what happens if he baits it. He will TOD you. It is very scary to try to reflect against him in neutral. Because this thing is a medium starter. As you can see, if I finish that combo, it's 70% before the Dragon Rush. You're dead. So, yeah. It's pretty scary to try to reflect him in neutral. So he has like interesting mind games behind this, and he doesn't even have to use rocket kick. He can just do this and kind of steal space because he's plus 20. He can move a lot faster than you can move, so he can do things like he can combine all the neutral tools to have an interesting sequence like this, like cool things like that, right? You do this, catch in the air, and then place himself next to you with a rocket kick. He could just burn through your assist like this, snipe you by doing something like this, combine this with this. Like, it gets really oppressive and like really creative. And obviously he can stall his, he's pretty ignorant in the air too because of it, using J2H, his layers to move horizontally, J2H to stall himself vertically, or coming down with key blasts or buttons. It can get very annoying to try to predict how he's going to do his next move, and like he puts like immense pressure on people in neutral if done correctly. So his neutral is arguably the most controlling neutral in the game, and definitely the most aggressive neutral in the game, because he can practically always put you in a situation where you have to guess with just a simple key blast. It was just that. So this is really, really interesting, right? Again, he's very strong at stopping counter zoning as well, because if you try to zone him back, he has a lot of different options to beat this. Like this key blast goes through most zoning patterns, or over most zoning patterns. This will just punish it if you're above them. This will teleport behind their neutral structure, right? If you time it right, and punish them. And he will just straight up never lose a key blast war to begin with, as long as the first one comes out. So you can't really zone him back, so you have to respect his what he's doing. But at the same time, if you respect it too much and you block something in the wrong way, he can just kind of pull up. Even this frame traps, by the way. This is also one of his strongest frame traps, which is just that, if you do it right. So really, really strong neutral. The other thing that makes him really, really oppressive is he has some of the best mix-up in the games. He probably has access to some of the easiest mix-up in the game. I think he's like top 3 in this regard. A lot of things he does are reactable, but they are barely reactable, right? And if you don't react correctly to any of these options, he will either mix you with the options itself, and even if you block them, it will turn into a 50-50. So let me show you. So first one is his disc. It's pretty reactable. It's 22 frames, but you still have to pay attention. If you don't react, because he has an air dash and he has no landing recovery, this is just a 50-50 if you don't block this. And he can do this. He gets 50-50s with assists other characters typically can't deal with. And if he angles it upwards, he can even go cross-up, so he has 3 options. This is a 3-way mix-up. And this can get really annoying, because if you combine that with his neutral, he can do crazy stuff like pull up, and you're going to mix up that fast. Like, that happened extremely fast. Even things like that's very, very quick. That is very, very quick. So his other one is his knee drop, actually. So not only this being an overhead is actually kind of difficult to block sometimes, because the animation can be a little subtle. If you block this and you don't 2H it, this will actually turn into a mix-up. Because again, he has no landing recovery and he has air options. So like, this just turns into a mix-up. So he can start getting really annoying. So there are 2 different things you have to look out for as far as his mix-ups go. His third mix-up option is actually using his EX moves, because they actually mimic the animation of a Dragon Rush. For those of you who don't know, any EX move that is around, let's say, 22 frames or slower and has an EX flash can actually be served as kind of like a fake Dragon Rush, because Dragon Rush animation, as you can see, is a black disc and then a green one, right? Like a black ring and a green one, right? And Dragon Rush, although it says it hits on frame 19, it hits on you have up till frame 24 to tech it. EX moves are a black ring and then an orangish red ring. So, and it hits on frame 24. So, if done correctly, these will actually start looking like Dragon Rush, which can get really annoying, because this can already be a mix-up. People will get hit by the overhead, and even if you block it, he calls an assist and he still gets a 50-50. So this is like, you can think of it as 2 mix-ups in one, right? And yes, he can be 2H'd if he does this, and you're correct. But his disc, as you can tell, also has a black ring on its startup. You see it? And if he does this instead, this beats 2H. And you can reflect this one to deal with it, right? And to leave the mix-up. Well, not really leave the mix-up, but you stop the 50-50, you enable a mind game. In this also, you can reflect this one as well, but if he does this one, well, the bot is doing it, but if the bot wasn't capable of reflecting, he will reverse your inputs, and you will just get crossed up. And again, this, this, and this, and this, they all look pretty identical. So you can kind of see what I meant by like his mix-up starts getting like really crazy because he's doing too much, right? Like he starts applying the mixturization station way too much, right? So that's kind of his mix-up there. He also has super dash, which is good, right? But it's nice. I'd also like to mention that his light rocket kick is also strong because if he against taller characters, and this is pretty important because the good characters right now are the fusions and they're pretty tall. He actually gets 3 overheads against them, and doing 3 overheads like this versus 1 overhead whipping JH and going low. I've talked to a lot of players about this, and it's kind of viewed as a 50-50 for the most part. He can also do things like Dragon Rush here instead, 2 overheads, do this one, 1 overhead, do this one, 1 overhead, do this one. If they block it, it's another 50-50. You see the point. It starts getting like really absurd. So, and in the corner, it just gets even stronger because if he has access to a 30 frame assist or higher, and keep in mind with 30 frames, this is like frame perfect. So realistically, with 30 frames, you're probably not going to do this every time. So I recommend doing this with at least 33 or higher is good enough to get it consistently. He actually just has true string 50-50s in the corner. Because his light rocket kick is float installed, he can float after it, you can see. And because he can float after it, he can float forwards and actually get close enough for his 2L. So in the corner, he just starts getting gapless 50-50s. And see, Angel 21's assist is 30 frames, so it's kind of hard to time. But SJ Goku's is a lot more, so it's very easy, right? And if you want the high option, you float forward, delay the air dash, go overhead. It's really strong, right? So the last thing I want to talk about is his setup potential, because this is the point of the character. It's his neutral control and his setups. So to quickly show you how crazy setups can get, he uses mainly this button and this. These are like his 2 main setup tools, right? So just for a pure example, right? Typically, tech chasing characters mid-screen is pretty difficult because they have a lot of options and you can't realistically cover all the options at once, right? Like you can up tech, back tech, or tech in place, right? That's very hard to tech or chase, especially without using an assist for almost every character in the game. He actually can use his 2S though to cover 2 tech options, which is up tech and back tech at the same time. So to show you what that looks like is he can do something like this. And it gets even stronger in the corner, but I want to show that he can do a mid-screen first. Saw that? It meaties them. And if they back tech, he does it as well. So the way to get this one is you have to do his light knee drop and then land on the ground forward and then press 2S. So wait till his feet touch the ground right there. I definitely just got an Amber Alert. And then press 2S. And then it covers both of those. In place tech isn't covered, but that's okay because you can react to in place tech because you don't have to react to the other ones. And as you can see, he's still plus 10 on in place tech, so like you're still at advantage to react, so it's fine. So you only have to look for 1 tech option realistically. And if you combine it with an assist, you can actually cover everything now, because you can mix it up and do something like use the 2S to cover the up tech, and then do something like ID back key blast to cover in place. So something like this. And if they back tech, it'll look like this. I mistimed it. I just to get my ID back. Oh my god. Who do this? Perfect. Right? And then in place tech, it'll look like this. So he can just cover everything, even mid-screen, which is not normal. Almost no character in the game can do this, realistically. Like, it's very rare for somebody to be able to do this. So that's really impressive, right? And then in the corner, it gets even more impressive because now that you're in the corner, he just covers everything now. Like, all 3 tech options are covered by the same thing, which is you do medium knee drop, walk back, 1S. And as you can see, it covers in place tech. Covers up tech, and then in place tech and back tech is virtually the same thing in the corner, right? Keep in mind that these setups always give him his assist back. So not only is his mix-up extremely potent, and his neutral's extremely potent with assists, he's consistently refreshing them on every single knockdown, while also almost guaranteeing his turn on every single knockdown. So I don't know if you guys starting to see what I meant by his setup is probably the most oppressive in the game, or one of the most oppressive in the game, because he's just constantly knocking you down, covering all options, refreshing his assists, using those assists for strong mix-ups that's very hard to deal with, and then looping it. Right? If you block that, you go into a mix-up, and even if they up tech, you still get a mix-up, as you can see. That's low. And that's high. And keep in mind, if you guess wrong on this mix-up, more than likely you are going to get 2-touched because of how much damage I mentioned he does earlier. So that's cool. Right? And the last thing, I say the best for last, is the big one. On top of his grab actually making his super do more damage, he gets a 4-way mix-up off this super. There's a 25% chance they are going to guess right. Think about that. It's one of the only 2 true 4-ways in the entire game. It's very, very potent. As you can see, he's hella plus. He's plus 43, right? So the input to do this one is the way I do it is, if you want same side high, you do super jump, immediate air dash, you float backwards and press JO. If you want same side low, you do super jump in place, instant air dash, float backwards for like, try to like float backwards for like a frame and then immediately fast fall and press 2-0. If you want cross up high, you do super jump, IED, you float forwards for a little bit, or sorry, you do super jump IED, you float backwards for like a frame, and then you float forwards. And this one is a little tricky because you have to switch your float momentum twice. But if you can do this correctly, the cross up high is like truly ambiguous because they can't react to which side you're being on. And then for the cross up low, you just do super jump IED fast fall, and he'll be on the other side. So to quickly show you all these options. And it's whenever I get the situation, I'm just like, good luck. And all these options counter hit 2H and jump, so they cannot get out of this one. Remember that his lows are unsafe to reversals to level 3s, but the highs are. Same side low. Just cross up high. I messed it up a little bit, so I'm gonna do that one more time. But as you can see, even me messing it up, I still got it, like, or a version of it, which is cool. There it is. And then cross up low, which is super jump IED fast fall. And this situation is so threatening mid-screen to the point where, good luck. You can also do something cheeky like TK, light knee drop to go to the other side. He just has so many different variations of mix-ups, so just to show you this one as well. No one blocked that. And in the corner, you can't actually do it, or the super jump float 4-way, but he can do jump J2H at a height. And make sure you super jump with this one. You do super jump J2H, and if you time it correctly, you can actually get a high-low mix-up. So that's a low. Ooh, that's gonna kill because it does too much damage. And then the high is just doing air dash JO. So a little less potent because there's only 2 options instead of 4. But as you can see, if you do get hit by this mix-up, the chances are you probably died because he does too much damage. So yeah, cool character, right? So yeah, to sum it all up, he is a neutral and set play monster. He is very, very dangerous and like neutral. His mix-ups are, I'm going to be completely honest, as long as you're mixing up all the options, it's not humanly possible to deal with all of them. It makes people feel very uncomfortable and start mashing, doing stupid stuff in block strings, so you can just punish them for that. And then, in my opinion, he has like top 3 best setups in the game. And then his level 3 is just the best level 3 in the game, like as far as like mix-ups goes. So yeah, if you want to play this character and you liked this analysis and want more of these, again, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, letting me know you want these type of videos. This is the first one I've done like this, and I wanted the first one to be my favorite character. And this one will probably be a little longer than the other ones due to how complicated he can be. But yeah, I definitely wanted to showcase how strong he could be and like, and what I believe to be his strong suits. So yeah, if you like these type of videos, again, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next video.